Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon for our webinar series that we call Digging In, where today we will be discussing the state of our rural communities with an update from our state capital. I'm Gerald Long, president of the Georgia Farm Bureau, and also a lifelong farmer from Decatur County. I certainly appreciate each one of you taking time to be with us today from your farms and your businesses. But before we get started, I want to do a few housekeeping items. Today, the webinar is being recorded. We understand that there's a possibility of outside media being on the call with us. And with that said, this is a private meeting and the information shared today is not intended for public reporting. Everyone that's on the call now should be muted so we can cut down on our background noise. Governor Kemp, we are still adapting to this new technology, so we apologize if we have any technical problems that might occur. I'm sure you've been on several yourself, so we never know what may happen. Governor, we have invited our 20 commodity committee with us today, advisory committees, and there's approximately 200 farmers that serves on these committees, and these are members from, first of all, from throughout the state, and they're the best that's represented on these committees in their commodity. We've got members from various other members on here, and also we got some members from various states, commodity groups from various states and associations that's joined us today. So I want to thank y'all for being with us. Our members always look forward to hearing from our governor at our annual convention. And I know, Governor Kemp, you realize that's not possible this year. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. But out of respect for your time, Governor, and since our listeners are very familiar with who you are, we will go ahead and get started. Governor Kemp, I want to welcome you and thank you again for joining us today. I don't think either one of us ever thought that we would be joining this conversation by Zoom. This year we've been presented with some extremely challenges as we responded to the COVID-19 with our health and safety measure, alerting every aspect of our day-to-day life, altering every aspect. You and your team have had to take some quick action of acquiring supplies and protective gear and developing some responsive plans and ensuring our hospitals that was hit the hardest to get the supplies of them. So with that, can you tell us anything about where we are now and if there's any predictions coming for the coming months, Governor?
Yeah, well, Gerald, first of all, let me just thank you, number one, for your friendship, but also your leadership. And I say the same for all you folks at Farm Bureau. I just appreciate the relationship that I've had with you all and that my administration has as well. And we certainly are here to support you and try to help any way we can. As you remember, I ran on strengthening rural Georgia, and even though we're dealing with a worldwide pandemic, that is still one of our top priorities. And I'll talk a little bit about that as we kind of go through this, but just to kind of address the president's question on where we are from a COVID perspective. I mean, we are doing great. I want to thank everybody for being a part of helping with that. We've asked Georgians for many weeks now to do 4 things for fall, and that's to wear a mask, socially distance yourself, which, being on a farm is a good way to do that. I know I've taken advantage of that myself. Continue to use good practices, washing your hands and things of that nature, and just adhere to the public health guidance that we've really put out there, I think, in a very smart, common sense, methodical way to help stop the spread. We know this is a virus, people are going to get it. We just want to limit the ability for that to transfer as much as we can and make sure that we're protecting those that are most vulnerable. And, obviously everybody's well aware of folks in long-term care facilities and nursing homes and other places, certain folks that have, existing medical conditions and other things. So we just want to tell people to keep doing more of the same. Our case counts have continued to go down since our peak. Our percent positive continues to go down. Our hospitalizations are down, I think, almost 67%. I did a press conference this morning that you can pull off the governor's website, very short, that kind of gives all these figures, but we have less than 9% of the hospital census, or the patients, COVID patients that are in the hospital statewide, on average is less than 9% of all the other people that are in there. So less than 1 out of every 10 patients has COVID, which is way down from where it was. So we have a lot of capacity out there as we go into the fall and into the flu season. And, you know, some members of the media today made a big deal that we've had like a 3.5% bump in the last few days. We don't think there's anything to that. We're continuing to watch that very closely. But Dr. Toomey mentioned today in addressing that question, and I'm sure they'll never write about this, but one of the reasons is we've got all these rapid tests now, these antigen tests that the Trump administration started sending in all the states. And we're using those to help our schools, our nursing homes, and, you know, other critical places that we need where we see outbreaks and other things. And so we've had more of those come into the system, and it just makes sense. The more you test, even if you have a low percent positive rate, like we do now, you know, that's been in, 6-7% range over the last several weeks, where, 3 weeks ago it was over 11, I believe. You're going to have more cases. So that doesn't really concern me. What I'm watching is the hospitalizations, what our percent positive is, because we've been able to do all of this while schools have gone back in, our universities have opened up. We've seen high school football games on Friday night in many communities. So there's a lot going on that wasn't going on at the end of the summer, and we've still been able to drive our numbers down. So I feel like we're in great shape right there. And I don't know, Gerald, if you want to ask me something else, but I, at some point, would like to just talk about the economy and kind of where we're going on that front.
Sure. I would like for you to talk about our census. You know, this is changing the subject a little bit, but not only having to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic, but we also the year of taking the census and the importance of it. And of course, you know, several years ago, we formed the I Farm, I Vote campaign. And last fall, we formed the You Farm, You Count campaign. And with that, you have appointed a complete count committee where I'm honored to serve on that, as we tried to get out with our people to get them to be counted. If you got some response to that, where we at on the census? And I understand they have changed the deadline.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about the deadline. I keep getting kind of mixed signals. Okay, so Sonny's telling me they did move it. I knew they were talking about doing it, and then it went to October 5th, but we do have a new deadline, so that's good news. You know, we had been lagging behind other states. We've had an aggressive push over the last several weeks to try to get people to respond, and we've had an aggressive push the whole time. It's just people were not paying attention to it because of the pandemic and the economic situation that we were in, and a lot of other priorities, which is understandable. I certainly appreciate the You Farm, You Count campaign, as well as the I Farm, I Vote campaign. I want to encourage everyone to do both of those things, vote and vote to be counted through the census. It's very important. Some of the places around the state where we are seeing a better than average response is especially in Southwest Georgia, which, as you know, much of that is a rural part of our state. So anybody has connections down there, just make sure that you're talking it up at Farm Bureau meetings, chamber meetings, Rotary, whatever else is going on in the community or at the supply house or wherever you're going. Make sure people are filling their census out. They can do that online at my2020census.gov. There's a 1-800 number, and of course everyone should have gotten that in the mail. But it's so important to make sure, especially from a Farm Bureau's perspective, that rural Georgia is counted and represented. And as you all know, that is one of the biggest challenges that we've had, I think, not only in our state, but across our country is, there's a small number of farmers that produce all the food and fiber, and a lot of times people don't realize that, and we need people in office and people from that community to serve in Congress and serve in the General Assembly, and all that is tied to legislative maps and making sure that that area is counted. So I want to encourage you to do that. But we have been doing a little better lately, but we still need to continue to push. So however Farm Bureau could help us in that, we sure would appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Governor Kemp. And that sort of leads in what you mentioned a while ago about the budget and the economy in Georgia. How has Georgia fared in regard to the economic growth, investments, and the jobs during this pandemic, and how quickly you expect our recovery?
Well, the recovery question is kind of a difficult one. I can answer that multiple ways. In some ways, I would say our recovery has been great already, because it has. I mean, when you think about where we were, where we are now versus looking at some other states, I mean, our unemployment rate right now is 5.6%, which to me is pretty incredible. I know Utah's unemployment is 4.1, and I think of other, not positive on all other southeastern states, but I know we were compared to some of the other states around the country, California, New Jersey, New York, and I think it was Illinois. And Utah was 4.1, we were 5.6, and I believe Tennessee was just a little bit higher than we were, like at 6 or 6.2 or something. But those states were all in double digits. California, I think, was 11.4%. And New Jersey was the lowest at 10.4. You had Massachusetts and New York and some of the other ones. And I know like Nevada's is over 13%. So when you look at that, I mean, we are faring very well. Our revenue numbers continue to hold up very steady, which I think is good from a perspective that we're not laying off teachers around our state or other state employees. We're open for business. You can get things done in state government. I know our courts are trying to get back open now, which is going to be good for rural parts of the state, that when you have people going to the courthouse, they're eating out during the lunch hour and, paying for gas and other things that drive sales tax up. And, so I think we'll continue to see that rebound rather nicely. The concerns that I have, quite honestly, Gerald, is just like you all. We're just in a year where people aren't doing association meetings. They're not doing their conventions. So they're not going to Jekyll or Savannah or Augusta or Columbus or World Congress Center in Atlanta. And that's affecting, that has an effect on Delta Airlines and other airlines that are in the state, which are big employers of ours, especially Delta. It has an impact on our hotels, obviously, on our restaurants and other establishments that are tied to that type thing. And we're just going to have to, I think, weather through the rest of the year on that. I hope that 2021 will be better. People feel more comfortable booking their meetings next year. We get to start getting a vaccine out there and start building that herd immunity through the vaccine and just other measures. I think we'll have a decent 2021, but it's just going to be a little slow coming back in those sectors. And that is why I've been pushing so hard on all other fronts of the economy, which have been incredible. Our pipeline at the Georgia Department of Economic Development on projects that we're working, we will be or should be shortly announcing another corporate headquarters moving to Georgia, a couple of hundred jobs, really a great facility. And we've had a lot of those. Our July and August, we actually set records for the job creation and investment numbers, even compared to last year before the pandemic, when you knew, how well we were doing at that time. So that's very encouraging. The projects we have in the pipeline are very encouraging for us to continue to be creating jobs here, which is really what we need to do. We have a lot of displaced workers in some of these other industries, and I want to make sure that we have opportunities for them, but also want to make sure that we have opportunities for your kids and your grandkids, for those of you that are on the call today in rural Georgia, where they can stay where they grew up and raise their families there and continue to try to diversify the rural economy. And nobody supports agriculture and forestry more than myself, I'm involved in both of those. We're actually cutting timber right now on our farm in Madison County. And that market is better than it has been. And the logging crews are busy and the mills are just, they're running at probably 120%. So there's a lot of good there. We obviously need to see commodity prices rebound on the row crop side of things. And hopefully at some point we'll see that. I keep thinking that's going to happen any month and it hasn't come yet. But I, like you, am ready for that. But a lot of the projects that we did last year, we had 30% more that were in rural Georgia than the year before, which has really been my goal when I ran on strengthening rural Georgia. We are working hard on the rural task force piece from an economic development perspective. We'll have more coming on that pretty soon. And then just the projects that we have that we're working that are either in rural parts of our state or in rural parts of our state that are directly tied to Georgia-based agriculture. I'm so excited about what we're working on. I'm working very hard to get those deals done where we can get them announced and have them start happening. But I'm very optimistic about that right now. And I know as tough as it is in the ag economy in rural Georgia, I think there are a lot of bright spots. There's a lot of people working hard on that piece, the legislature, the university system, our office, you all, and many, many other folks, folks like David Bridges at ABAC and the small business folks at UGA, Department of Community Affairs, and, Commissioner Black, Commissioner Williams, a lot of other people. So we're going to continue to push on that. But I'm very optimistic. We definitely have issues we're going to have to work through, but we got a lot of opportunity as well, Gerald.
Good. Thank you, Governor Kemp. I know we're short on time, but just touch base a little bit. I read your report on the revenue collection so far this year. Sounded much better than what I was expecting, because I know the budget process at this past session was very difficult.
Yeah,
you have time to make a little short comment on that?
It was definitely difficult last year, but it was a lot less difficult than we thought it was going to be. We originally talked with the legislative budget folks and the leadership, and came out and we're thinking we were going to have a 13-14% cut. It ended up being 10. Everybody was preparing for 6 already from the original budget that I issued to make state government more efficient and to fund our priorities like teacher pay raises, healthcare, public safety, continue to be able to drive the economy and make state government more efficient and have you all get more value out of your tax dollar. So agencies only had to make up an additional 4% at the end of the day. So we were able to avoid layoffs. And we think about, you start laying teachers off in rural Georgia, that has a big impact. So we didn't have to do that. We've told the state agencies the way that things looked a month and a half ago that we would keep everything flat this year, so no cuts. But our revenues are continuing to hold up very well. We put a press release out yesterday about revenues being down 3.6%. There was a caveat in there. We had to make a $240 million payment out to local governments that was an adjustment back from, I think it was like back in 2017 or 2015. And it was something that, that was before my time, but we had to make that whole with the local government. So that was a one-time thing. So, if you took that out, we would have had another decent month. So even with that, we're, I think, above 6% growth right now, which we are certainly not projecting that. I don't know if that will hold or not. I think a lot depends on kind of what we're going to see in the days ahead in the Congress and kind of how stable our economic picture is here. So, but look, I will absolutely take it. Our numbers from last fiscal year ended up being better than we thought. We thought we were going to have $1 billion revenue shortfall that we would have to hit the rainy day fund for. It looks like we only had to hit that for about $260 million. So that leaves us an additional, $740 million that'll stay in the reserve fund. That has us very well positioned with the rest of the money that we have in there, which is why we maintain our AAA bond rating, and we're borrowing at the lowest levels ever in the history of the state for our bond package. And I would just mention that in closing, Gerald, I want to thank the General Assembly, the leadership, Terry England and Blake Tillery. We worked very closely with them on our bond package and some other things in the budget this year. And even though it was a tough budget, we have shovel-ready projects that every area of our state is going to benefit from. These are road, repaving, road construction projects, new bridge construction or redoing bridges, which is a huge issue in rural Georgia. We put even more money in that this year because we figured that'd be a good way to keep people working, turn money in local economies all over the state. We did the same thing with maintenance and repair money, the MR&R money that'll go to, repairing roofs and electrical upgrades to make facilities more efficient, replacing coolers and heating and air systems and other things in state buildings, school construction, school maintenance and repairs. That'll be happening all over our state. So literally wherever you are on this call today, wherever you're from, you're going to be some of those projects are going to be happening in your neck of the woods. And that'll really help, I think, with the economic rebound in all parts of our state. So we were very strategic about how we did that. And I believe we'll get a lot of fruit from those seeds that we're planting right now.
Thank you, Governor Kemp. You're about halfway through your first term as governor, and I want to thank you for staying true to your word. I consider you personally myself a great friend of mine, of Georgia Farm Bureau and of agriculture. And for you that's on this meeting today, little information, Governor Kemp is a member of Georgia Farm Bureau and has been for a number of years. So Governor Kemp,
I think I just re-upped the other day, Gerald.
Well, good. Thank you very much. So he is a true friend to us. So again, Governor, thank you for being willing to spend some time with us. Take care. If you need us, get in touch with us. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks, Gerald, and thanks for having me on. Just remember, I farm, I vote, and fill out your census. Y'all have a great day.
There you
God
go.
bless you.
Thank you very much.